So the book for today, Lady, You're the Boss. Now, the reason this book has been picked, like we know, March 8th is International Women's Day. So we thought, let's pick a book on the theme of women and see what are the things that women can achieve. How can each of us contribute and support the growth of women? So that's exactly the reason why we picked this book. And the author has a very impressive profile. And based on all these things, we have narrowed down the book of Lady, You're the Boss. Now the men here, I don't want you to think this book is only for women, simply because if you're a man who's supporting the growth of women, be it at home, be it in your friend circle, be it in your professional space, this book will open up and give you some insights on how women think, what are the challenges they face, why is it women behave in a particular manner, and what's actually going on in their mind. So you'll be able to get a sneak peek into this, and based on this, hopefully you will be able to support, the growth of women in whatever space that you can. So, what really stood out for me in this book? Let me first share that. And of course, I'm going to give you a 360 view of my perception, the way I looked at the book. So I'm going to give you whatever comes to my mind after I read the book. So let me first share what were some of the things that stood out for me in the book. Firstly, I thought very good writing style, because it seems like a very conversational way that has been written. End of each chapter, it gives an excellent summary, a very crisp summary of what the chapter is about. So it kind of a good recap, I would say, end of each chapter. Then I found it very relatable. What really floored me, the first thing when I read the book, in the beginning, the author says, she's come across a competent male who's probably a marketing head, will go and call himself as a CEO. Now, why this actually struck to me was, I know somebody, of course a male, he was an admin manager, and he used to go around telling everybody he's the COO, the Chief Operating Officer. So immediately I connected with this on how men position themselves and, compared to women. Then she goes on to say how women need to change, how they need to evolve with changing times. Because according to the author, women have not significantly evolved over the years. Especially she talks from like the cave-dwelling era to now, and how is it women have not really kept in pace with the time. They tend to be shirking and, subduing themselves, and feels we need to get better. So this, I think, in my personal view, it's good she brought it out, because I think over the years, this is slowly changing, like compared to my generation and the generation, the next generation, I already see this change, so which is probably a good thing. And then she says, women, how we tend to brush aside compliments. We never speak up for ourselves. We hesitate to ask for pay rises and tend to subdue ourselves, and in fact, we sometimes even let others take credit for the work that we have done. And she says how women need to come out of these aspects. She also talks about the boardroom, one of my favorite topics. So she says how in the boardroom, when she was, her first appointment as a board director, somebody complimented her and thought that she was there just to add to the glamour quotient, right? And of course, this being something that's very close to my heart, of course, it's essential to have diversity in the board. Of course, not just gender diversity, but age diversity, thought diversity, right? A multiple number of diversity, because I think diversity brings in a different thought process. Women are wired differently compared to the men, and therefore, the perspectives and the perceptions tend to change. So diversity, not just in the boardrooms, everywhere is important. So that was something that I quite liked. And she also goes on to say, in order to be recognized and appreciated and to be successful, women need to be their own godmother. And because she again compares with the men, she says how men have been programmed to slay the dragons and blow their own trumpets, which women don't really do much, In fact, there was a survey that said if there's a particular job opening, a male, even if his profile is about 50%, it matches the requirements, he goes and pitches himself saying, I am the best fit for the job. Compared to a woman, she may have even 90% of the requirements, but still she's reluctant saying, I'm missing out on the 10% actually. So that difference was something that I could quite relate to. The another aspect that I liked was, she talks about her friend, who's an author, and this author used to go promoting her books. And, there were different remarks that came about, but then this lady very correctly said, if I don't promote my books, who else will? I thought that's an excellent takeaway, because especially women tend to shy away from promoting themselves in whatever aspect they are good at, and I think that's very important. So that is a key takeaway for me, and I would love to definitely promote my own books based on that. And of course, the author, she has also very subtly, very nicely promoted herself in the book throughout. I think that whenever the right opportunity at the book, she's done a pretty good job at promoting herself. Another very key thing that she touched upon is, what are the real life role models that we have? Because, be it in movies or anything, it's all male focused. The male is the hero, he does so many things, right? But she says, for the younger generation, whom do they really have to look up to, right? So that was something I thought was a very key takeaway, because I think it's time we need to showcase women as well, their potential, what are the things that they can, be capable of, so that the future generation are inspired by seeing such women, seeing people in the real life close-up quarters. So I think that was essential. And she also says, most instances, the women CXO is far more competent than the male CXO, because the woman has already fought so many battles to get to that position. So I guess this varies person to person, but I liked the lines, therefore I'm sharing. And the last thing that I quite really liked was, she says, one of the best ways you can support the cause of gender diversity is becoming a role model yourself. Because, once you want to be a role model for others, then you're always scaling up yourself, scaling up your growth. And that's exactly what high performance is, what I talk about. So I really liked that particular line. So talking about inspiration, in case any of you would want some more inspiration, I have a free ebook that I've written. It's called Shakti, High Performance Women Leaders. You can get in touch with me. It's a free ebook. You can write to me at support@sss.coach. I'm happy to share that book with you. It talks about the present day women leaders with the women from history and, the lessons that we can learn from them. It's a short, quick read. So these were the positive things that I really liked about the book. So what are some of the things that didn't greatly resonate with me as a reader? I'm going to share that as well. I thought it's an overdose of the author's experience. Everything is through her lens. So she talks a lot about her experiences, her friends, her aunts, her cousins, so on and so forth. Everything is totally only her perspectives. I thought she could have brought in a little more flavor, getting some other perspectives, different perspectives as well. And another thing was, the second half of the book, I didn't quite like it, because I thought it was a bit of a drag and it was more a filler, and it didn't quite sustain my attention. I really loved the first part, but the second part was a bit disappointing for me as a reader. And also, I think it is a lot focused on the problems than solutions. So those were some of the things that I didn't greatly like as a reader, I would say. So, but then you must be wondering, so why should one read this book? For the women, I'd like to tell you that, you're not alone. These are struggles that, most other women leaders have also gone through. So you're not alone that way, and you can easily relate to a lot of these things as a reader. And like I said, it has a very good connect with the reader. If you're in those shoes, you would be able to relate to most of the things that she says. And men, like I said, get to know the challenges of your women colleagues, women friends, your family. And of course, you can see how you can actually support them and, really contribute towards their growth. So those were some of the things that quite stood out for me. Now,